Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. Sorry for the delay for anybody who was waiting as we go live here. And if you're not watching live, hopefully we can still help you out. Either way, the goal is to help you win, hand out some winning plays. The way we do that, we go over the slate, break down the matchups, and look at all the teams involved on the main slate at DraftKings and point you to the plays that we like the most. If anything does help you out here, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join our Discord, which is 100% free. If you want core plays for NBA every day, as well as all the NFL content that we push out, you can hit that up at our site, dfsbuild.com. Just $5.99 a month for everything that we have to offer. I would say that's a bit of a deal. All right, let's get started here. Rockets at Cavs, 2.5-point spread, healthy total. Not really the matchup you'd normally gravitate towards, but I mean, the total and the spread are pretty, those both look pretty good here. So starting on the Houston side, Şengün, almost a 50-point fantasy projection, 9.5K. He does stand out, and he's not going to be very owned. I'm not seeing a lot else on the Houston side. I think there could be a little bit of value with Notari and Jabari questionable, but I think if I'm going to do anything for the Rockets, it's going to start with Şengün. How about you?
Yeah, I think he's obviously a really good play. Cleveland has a big front court. I think if he's low owned, which it looks like he will be, he's always in play. It's a fine enough spot. I'm not too concerned about the bigs for Cleveland. I think there's a decent chance it's also a Steven Adams starting spot with Cleveland having the two bigs. So Adams at 3.7, like if he plays 21 to like 25 minutes, I think he can certainly get there for you. Not loving that he's center only. I mean, he should be center only, but just kind of a risky way to use a center spot. But I think he's fine if he starts. Reed Shepherd again, like people aren't playing him. I will continue to play him. He's under 5K, playing 25 plus minutes off the bench, more of a role, more usage without Eason also. And then I think Jabari sitting just gives him a higher floor. So he might get a little more owned in that scenario, but probably not extreme chalk by any means. Durant, just kind of a product of small forward being terrible. There might be value here opening up, but if you want to pay up, I think he's perfectly fine at 8.5. Amen Thompson, I think, is better on FanDuel, or is a bit cheaper. Not a great spot for him either against Cleveland's kind of rim protection. And then if Jabari don't really know, I guess you can play Josh Okogie, but I'd prefer to not do that. Yeah, I think there is a lot to like on Houston, and both Cleveland and Houston in this game.
Yeah, I glossed over Reed Shepherd. I've come around on the Reed hype train. You were talking about him like 3 slates ago, and he just continues to wreck like every game. So, wreck relative to his salary. You're probably going to get 30, maybe 35 fantasy points if he pops off. But I think at that price, that's okay. Like that's what we're paying for, and we'd be happy to get that. Projection is not great. Matchup's not amazing, but there's no Darius Garland, and he comes in on the second unit, so not really that worried about it. He's not a core play for me, but at 4.8K, he is one of the better looking values of the slate. I don't hate the Okogie thing, depending on what you're doing. If you're paying up for Jokic, he's 13K. You do need to find value somewhere. I would definitely need Jabari out to feel good about it, but at 3.5K, he doesn't need to light the world afire to pay off that salary. So I do hate it. I know I do hate it, but I don't hate it, So I think it's in play. But if you're not going to pay for Jokic and you're going a little bit more balanced, I feel like that is an unnecessary punt. Okay, so on the other side, the Cavs, you had a good Spida call the other day. He had 56 fantasy points on that slate. Not the best matchup to pay for him, but he's only 9.3, and he does have a ceiling, plus no Garland still. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to get there personally probably, but there's nothing wrong with it. Evan Mobley was utter ass the other day when he was 7.8. Price is only 8K, so he still looks good in terms of salary and projection. I just still don't know if I'm going to get there. DK did correct DeAndre Hunter's laughable price tag, but of course, when he was 4.5K, he only got 18 fantasy points, so you know what's happening tonight. He's going to go nuclear. It's just the way it is. Sam Merrill is questionable, so I guess you could look at Lonzo Ball. I guess you could punt with Craig Porter Jr. if he's out. I don't think you have to do any of those things. This game just looks like kind of an underrated, overlooked setting that we should be more interested in for DFS, but I'm not really getting there personally because I feel like I'm just going to go after Jokic tonight. It's hard to go get Jokic and prioritize this game, or, fucking impossible. But yeah, so a good plays, I think, on both sides, just not where I'm getting.
Yeah, I think Merrill's playable if he's in, just because he's 4K and shooting guard, but not ever a fun play. Not a great spot either. I think it should be a competitive, potentially high scoring game, but it is hard to get into the Cleveland side. Just at the salaries, like Hunter is okay, just because it's small forward, but very low floor with him, questionable ceiling. Um, I like Mobley a bit more if Jabari is out. I think Jabari being Houston's like best matchup for him defensively. So taking Jabari out just kind of leaves Houston pretty thin on playable forward on B. So okay with Mobley at 8K. I think it's a pretty decent bounce back spot for him. I think he's my favorite run back on the Cleveland side. Mitchell always in the player pool, but not a priority.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so Hornets, Pacers, next game, 1.5-point spread, even better game total. Two assy teams. I feel like if this is popular, it will be horrible. And if it's not popular, it'll be the game of the night. But hey, the Hornets do have some interesting pieces here. LaMelo is there, but he's kind of limited. So at 9-4, I feel like it's kind of tough to pay a premium for him right now. That said, if he's going to push for 30 minutes against Indy, you certainly could argue for GPPs to just, YOLO and go play him. With him back, Miles Bridges still a little bit too expensive for me. Probably the same for just about everybody except for the centers here. So Kalkbrenner and Diabate are going to be pretty appealing at just 4.5 and 4.4. I lean Kalkbrenner because he's probably going to start, or he's going to start. It's just a really good spot for centers in general. But that's going to be an interesting one. Like you kind of need to get right on this slate. We'll see where ownership falls.
Yeah, I think he's okay. He's always cheap, pretty low floor, but kind of is what it is. Trey Mann is doubtful, so I think Colin Sexton is a bit more appealing at 5'4", shooting guard eligible now also, which is pretty helpful for him. Con Knipple continues to smash. I don't think projections really know what to do with him because he's a rookie and it's a pretty unfamiliar role, obviously, but pretty good play. He's shooting guard only now, so that kind of takes some of the value away from him.
Yeah.
Bridges, I think, is pretty good. Indiana just doesn't protect the rim at all. And I think Bridges, even with LaMelo back, can get there at 8-4.
I like the Knipple, the Knipple play just because he looks good. He just looks like a really well-rounded player, and he's a rookie, and he does not play like a rookie at all. He can kill you from outside. He takes the inside as well. He has some mid-range game. Like he's a pretty well-rounded scorer. So I'm with you on like the projection seems a little bit low. And at 6.5, if you land there, that's fine. You can play Miles Bridges. I just feel like, I don't know. He just doesn't offer the same ceiling that he usually does when LaMelo is out. So it's kind of like I don't really want to pay almost 8.5K for that. Did you mention where you're at on the Hornets centers?
I mentioned Kalkbrenner being okay. But
Okay.
Steven Adams, Jokic, Şengün, there's a lot of other stuff to like at center, I think.
That's true. On the other side of this game, there's Isaiah Jackson even. He is not as likely to have a ton of minutes, but he does a lot in those minutes. So if he can push for like 25 at 4.2K, he is an interesting pivot away from the Hornet centers. Mathurin's minutes should increase. He had 25 in his first game back from injury. So he looks okay at 6K. Siakam's price is coming down a little bit, but obviously the usage gets diluted at least a little with Nembhard and Mathurin and all these guys coming back. Obviously it's a really good game environment, really good matchup. So I mean, in theory, we should have a little bit of interest here, but I think it's just not a spot that I love. I think Mathurin at 6K, if we land there, is fine, but he's just shooting guard eligible only, so it's kind of like it's really difficult to prioritize that.
Yeah, he had 25 points in his 25 minutes in his first game back, which is awfully efficient. The minutes could come up a little bit. It is a good spot. So I think he's okay. Like I'd rather play a 6K Mathurin than a 6K DeAndre Hunter, for example.
Right.
So I think he's totally fine. The Isaiah Jackson thing is just like every time they start a center and that center plays well, he projects really well the next game. And then he's inevitably going to come back down to earth because the minutes have been really inconsistent for the bigs in general.
Yeah.
So I see Isaiah Jackson at 4.2. I understand it. It's Charlotte also, but I don't trust it at all. Like there's an extremely wide range of outcomes. And if people are going to bank on that one game continuing, I'm not really interested. Like if he's owned, that's something that's pretty easy to get away from. I think Jarris Walker's okay again, just because he's small forward and we're kind of hurting for great options there, but don't love it. Nemhard, Siakam are always playable. This game could shoot out. Like Indiana hasn't been able to stay close with teams, but they're playing Charlotte now at home. So I don't mind getting to these guys like in a little game stack in tournaments, but it's hard to feel great about any of them.
Yeah, LaMelo is still limited, isn't he? At least to a certain degree.
I assume.
I mean, he only had, what, 20 – or I don't know if they're asking – well, LaMelo has only played 27 minutes in his last 2 games. So unless that is lifted, I think 27, maybe 30 max is probably what we can expect unless they announce it. If they're asking about Mathurin, I think we can expect a slight uptick. But here's the thing with Mathurin, though, by the way, why he is a better play than Hunter. His usage rate in that first game was 42%. He's always been a guy who's just going to hoist. So, like, if he just has that green light and he comes in here and there's just really just him and Siakam and maybe Nemhard, like he's gonna take it over. Oh, Jackson, he's asking about if he's limited. He's just always limited. Like they don't like to play him more than 25 minutes usually.
Yeah, they still have Bradley, they still have Robinson Earl, they have Siakam who can play center, like Jay is there. They just don't have a clicking, so whoever's hot gets the minutes, and then the next game, if they're not, they just go back down.
All right. So, yeah, definitely first 2 games of the night, honestly, they both could go a little bit overlooked, and there are definitely interesting pieces. Mathurin coming in with a little bit of ownership. So, like, not super psyched to play a potentially chalky Mathurin who is scoring dependent, but I do like the usage. All right. Toronto and Philly. This is another really appealing game in terms of total. 234.5 total, 2.5 point spread. The Raptors have looked really good. Philly without Embiid, so we got a lot of usage. We'll get to their side in a second, even more so because they have, PG-13 just made his debut and he's out now again. From the Raptor side, it's just the same story, different day. They have a lot of decent players. They play, team basketball for the most part, and they just all take turns wrecking. I think if you're going to play one of them, Scotty Barnes at 8.5K, his price never budges. He always has the top ceiling of this team. He would be the play in terms of value. I guess it'd be quickly. And then Jakob, he remains limited. Like 30 minutes is probably going to be his max, but it's an okay spot considering, there's no Embiid there. So I think you can play Raptors. I just don't like it's the same thing every time. They just don't really stand out unless one or two of these guys are out. They're just not going to be focal points of a slate.
Yeah. I mean, it's another game with a pretty good spread and a pretty good total. So I do want to get into it. It's always hard to know what to do with Toronto. So I think I just kind of play whoever fits. Like if I land on a build that has 6,900 at small forward, like, oh, RJ Barrett, I'm fine with that.
Sure.
Same case for Ingram, same case for Scotty, same case for Pirtle, same case for Quickly. So individually, I think they're all pretty good. Like Pirtle didn't get there, but he did play 31 minutes the other night, which was a season high. And without Embiid, this is obviously a good spot for him against Philadelphia. So he's a good Drummond pivot. We'll get to Drummond being the chalk again, I think. So we talked about it the other day with Pirtle being a really good alternative in the same range, and I think that's true again tonight. Not a priority, but I think individually he's a good play. All of them are individually good plays. I would probably max 2 any of the 5 and just kind of roll with that and see what the lineup builder gives me. But it's hard to love any of them individually over the others.
Thanks for the shout, Ricky. He's giving credit to your mic. And by the way, for anybody
Wasn't
who was
even my
waiting,
mic's fault.
For anybody who was waiting, it was actually 100% on me. Very sorry. This stuff is weird sometimes where just like the mic setting will change for no reason with no alert. But anyways, we figured out, and we appreciate everybody dropping in comments here. If you have actual questions as far as who you want to play or any like 1v1, 2v2 as we're going here, feel free to drop them and we'll address them as we go. The other thing, by the way, I think you're kind of were alluding to it, but like a good example would be like Julius Randle is like what 8-1, 8-2 tonight, and he's shaping up as kind of a chalkier play. If you want to have a different pivot there, if you want to get away from one of your chalky pieces and Randle is one, that is an opportunity for you to pivot to like a Barnes where the projection's kind of similar, a little bit more expensive, and a really high ceiling, but nobody's going to really be on them. So that is a leverage opportunity for sure. All right, so Philly story is the same as usual with no Embiid. Tyrese Maxey looks really good. We said it last time. He's going to get you probably 50 to 60 fantasy points. Like, he's just not really the type of guy that's going to come out and nuke and get like 80 or something. So I think he's a good play. I think he's a fine play. Just not really the type of guy I personally want to pay 10K for. That said, 51 point fantasy projection. Raptors are a good matchup. I don't hate it. I think it's fine. Andre Drummond looks good. He's going to be chalky. That would be the downside, but he's been getting minutes. He's been producing good projection. And then no PG-13 here. I think they're missing somebody else too that I'm not thinking of. Oh yeah, Oubre. So that's significant. So VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, they both look pretty darn good at 6 and 6'1". Good luck differentiating. Like, good luck deciding which one to play. Like, if they're gonna be like mega chalk, I think we can do something else, like save some money or something. But certainly, just really good rock solid plays across the board for Philly, and the rotation is gonna be kind of constricted here. So just more usage to go around.
Yeah, I see Grimes pulling a lot more ownership than VJ, which seems weird because they project like identically, and they're both shooting guard eligible. Grimes has point guard, and I think on FanDuel he has forward, which is useful. Mm-hmm. But I don't really see any reason he should be like twice as owned as Edgecombe. And if that's the case, like, that's a super obvious pivot. I think they're both going to be somewhat popular, but we're going to have value, I think, opening up. Like Golden State, I think, is punting this game tonight. We have the Wizards with some injuries to follow, and Denver as well. So there's a lot that could break between now and then. So the Philly ownership, while it is high early, I think that'll come down. I think Grimes will still be popular. I think Drummond will still be popular. I love Maxey. If you're not paying all the way up for Jokic, there's really not a lot else to pay up for. Like the Rockets, Donovan Mitchell, the Wolves in a blowout, possibly.
Right.
Shea in a blowout, possibly. So in this game, which has a high spread and a tight total, or a tight total and a high spread, Maxey at 10K, like, I'm all about that. I think he's a fantastic play. And if I'm playing at least 2 Sixers, I do want to run it back with the Toronto piece on the other side.
Trying to find my soundboard here for the next time you have a blunder. Yeah, that's a good point about the state of the slate, kind of like where it's Jokic at 13K. If you want to go save that 3K and get a little more balanced, and you just want like the raw points that Maxey's going to get, like, oh, I want a guy he's going to almost certainly get me 50 plus fantasy points, then Maxey's a great play, right? It's just, for me, it's tough to bypass Jokic because he gets like 85 fantasy points every other game right now. It's just insane. So can you pair them with all the value on this slate? I don't know. I haven't even tried looking at it. But yeah, Maxey's a good play. I agree. And Philly is just like, they have a shortage of bodies. Speaking of which, what's your interest level on punting? It's not even punting, actually. Dominic Barlow, Trendon Watford, 4.5, 4.8K. I'd imagine they're not cheap enough to really entertain.
I think Barlow's okay, assuming he would start. Just decent per minute guy, but this is another situation kind of like Indiana where like Watford starts and then he sucks and then Barlow outplays him. So Barlow starts and then he sucks and then Watford outplays him off the bench. So there is a lot of fragility in that. I think Barlow's fine, but there will be, and currently is, better cheap stuff on the slate.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to cover some of that right now. The Warriors do not have Steph Curry. They're in Miami. They're 9-point dogs, and we don't really care that much about that because Miami plays so fast that hopefully all these backups for Golden State will be able to keep it close. Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, all also questionable. Jimmy, parentheses, Puss, refuses to come in and play the revenge game against Miami, most likely. So if him, Dre, and Hield all missed here, we're looking at a ton of usage circulating for Golden State. So Pod, Moody, Will Richard, those 3 guys immediately would step in and look really good. Gary Payton would be a really good punt at 3-3. And then even Quentin Post at 4-6. Like, all these guys would be in play. So the real question, Taylor, would be how many Warriors is too much Warriors?
Generally in these kinds of terrible scenarios, I like to limit it to 3. But like you said, they could be super bare bones without like Butler and Draymond and Steph Curry. Kuminga's out.
Yeah, Kaminga too. That's a good point.
So it's pretty rough. They're impossible to avoid. Like if all these guys are out, you're playing probably multiple pieces. And it is a really good spot against the team that allows the most 3-point attempts in the league per game.
Mm-hmm.
So Pajemski immediately stands out. Moody stands out. Post is a floor stretching big. He would stand out. Pat Spencer, 3K flat, good per minute guy, would stand out. Trace Jackson Davis, I don't know if he's playing at all
Back
for this
from the
team,
dead.
but he's 3K and a very good per minute
Dude,
guy.
Quentin Post is like the biggest hit or miss option here because the Miami Heat give up so many threes that he could go out and hit like 6 threes easily because that's all he does. But if he doesn't hit his shots, he's going to be absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I mean, TJD would be the better play if Draymond is out and stuff. Horford out also.
He's 3 flat, yeah.
Yeah, so like they're both playable. I think I would prefer Jackson Davis off the bench. The guys I'd be least interested in would be Guy Santos and Will Richard, just because Richard's kind of expensive, not a great per minute guy, but he will have a role. The minute should be secure. Santos is 3K flat, so like hard to get away from that.
Doorbell always rings. It's like everybody knows. Hopefully they're
mess.
just leaving a package.
I think you can make
I
a
agree.
case for 4 if they're all out, but I hope they're not.
I'm starting Pod and Moody, like assuming these other guys are out. I'm starting with them for sure. And then if we leak into, some punt territory with TJD or look at Post, like that's fine. But I think 2 is good. 4 max most likely. On the other side, Miami, like they might get Bam back, so we'll have to monitor that. If he's back, could be a little bit limited. But obviously he could absolutely smash here with all the main defensive pieces for Golden State out. Like Norm, Hamey, Wiggins, they'd just be okay. I think David Mitchell's the play here though. 5'6". You probably want to have somebody coming back from 2 to 4 Warriors that you're playing. So you certainly can make a case for most of these other guys. But David Mitchell at 5'6" is the easiest to get to, and he comes in with a good projection and a low price. So that'd be my play here for Miami.
Yeah, I'm not really getting to this. I do agree that you probably want something if you're playing Golden State starters. And since they're cheap, I think you can pay. Like, I don't think you have to settle for a cheap Davion. Like, I think you can kind of shoot for more upside with Norm Powell or Jaime Jaquez or Wiggins. Not going to be playing Bam in his first game back unless he's like super unlimited. And then if he's out, obviously you can go back to the well with Ware. I think he's okay, but currently Miami looks pretty unappealing. I assume
if Bam is out, Ware would look really good at 6'5" and a good Drummond pivot,
but
actually.
Yeah, it's just tough with center because there is a lot to like on this slate. So fine, but not a priority.
All right, next game, 16.5 point spread. Godspeed, Wizards. They'll probably keep it close. It'll be like triple overtime. It just always is the case. Every time we see a game that is definitely for sure going to blow out, it does not. But anyways, the Wolves are just like, or the Wizards are way overmatched here. Sarr is questionable. Like if they don't have him down low, are we looking at Marvin Bagley and Vukovic here? Like Tristan Vukovic? By the way, Vukovic would come off the bench still probably. And then we would be at risk of the dreaded Vukovic DNP, which has definitely happened to us more than once. There is actually a good amount to like here if the game stays close. Where are you at in the Wiz?
Yeah, I kind of like them as it is. If Sarr is in, I like it more just because Minnesota's not been a great defense and the teams are kind of pacey. So I don't mind Keyshawn at under 6K now. I think he's a pretty good play at shooting guard. Koulibaly at 51 at small forward is also totally fine, I think. Don't mind CJ if you think the game stays close. He's also under 6K. Sarr himself is always a pretty good pay up center option. It's a tough spot, obviously. Things can go quite wrong. If Sarr is out, I assume it's Bagley starting with Vukovic off the bench. Both would be great plays. They're both near min salary. They're both really good per minute guys. I think Vucevic is the one you want if you want to play for the blowout. So it's tough. I think the Wizards are decent as it is, and then we'll kind of get forced into the value if Sarr is out.
Yeah, I think everybody's okay here. Like, obviously, they're not projecting very well because they're kind of expected to not play full game. But so there's a certain element of risk there, and there's also a large element of risk playing for the blowout. Like I said, if you do play Vukovic, he is very cheap at 3K flat, but he also can play 0 minutes. So
I think he'll
it's
play. I
definitely
think
dicey.
he's been in the rotation, so I think he's going to be playing no matter what.
Famous last words, if there ever were any. All right, on the other side are the Wolves. Obviously, if the game stays close, Minnesota looks good, but they look good anyways because they have the 127.5 team total. Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle both look great. Julius pulling just gobs of ownership here. If he is really that owned, again, like I was saying, it's a great spot, but he was he was in a great spot the other day, only got 27 fantasy points. So the players can fail even when they are good and in smash spots. So while I like him a lot and I'll be getting to him, I think you could certainly make a case to pivot to somebody like Scotty Barnes or something if the ownership's going to be that egregious. And you can always play. Rudy is totally fine in a smash spot. Wizards versus centers, that remains a thing. And Naz Reid looks awesome off the bench. He's going to get minutes. He has a good role, a great per minute player, and still very cheap. Plus power forward eligible, which is always nice to see. And then Dante DiVincenzo at 5'4". He looks pretty good as well. And then why don't you give your thoughts on the value here? Because Jaden McDaniels is out.
Yeah, I'm mostly still getting to the expensive stuff. Randall's just too cheap. Like, even if you are worried about the blowout, he didn't get there because of a blowout in the last game, but he's 8-2. He's facing the Wizards. There's more usage without McDaniels in there. I think he's a very strong play. I think if he's 40% owned, then that's obviously something you can fade, but I'll still be getting some in a multi-entry set. I think Edwards is fine at 9-1. You can argue he's still too cheap. DiVincenzo is probably my favorite option at 5'4". That's pretty affordable for him without McDaniels. I think Jalen Clark is the punt you consider, who should see a bit more playing time without McDaniels. He's 3-3. He's guard forward. Not a great per minute guy, but if the Warriors stuff doesn't open up, for example, I think he's a pretty decent play. And then Dillingham, I think you can make a similar case. Just at 3-1, if the game blows out, he can really get there. So a lot of ways you can play the Wolves. Reed is the most concerning chalk piece just because he's a bench guy. Don't really think he would see blowout run either. So there's risk. He's not like super, super cheap, even though he is underpriced. So Reed is the one I think you can get away from. But individually, without considering ownership, he's still a really good play.
Yeah, like when it comes to Naz Reid in particular, I'm kind of choosing to ignore the blowout element because I feel like the value is pretty good. He grows less and less necessary by the minute, so you don't have to do that. But he looks like a really good play. Yeah, the Jalen Clark thing, like, again, if you're playing Jokic, I think you definitely can consider playing Jalen Clark. If you're not playing Jokic, I don't think you have to do that, even if he starts, because we've seen that kind of thing go both ways many times before. All right, Denver against the Pels. Jokic looks awesome, 65-point fantasy projection. Just look at his game log and salivate because he crushes almost every single night. And the Pelicans have nobody that can stop him. So whether Zion is in or out, Jokic is going to feast. Problem is he's 13K. Not really coming with much ownership yet, which is really cool. I personally am on Jokic tonight. I mean, like, hot take, right? But like, if people aren't going to come in droves to play Jokic, I will. 8.6K Murray feels a little bit expensive, but if Aaron Gordon is out, that might be okay. If Aaron Gordon is in, not really going to get there. But if he's out, Cam Johnson and Peyton Watson would both get a boost. Probably all I'm going to do there, because I feel like the other dives like THJ or anything, it's like you can just get same or better results elsewhere on this slate.
Yeah, Jokic's ownership is always underprojected. I feel like he will be popular no matter what, like 20% probably. You can argue that's not high enough. He is expensive, but it is a really good matchup. In spite of the blowout risk, the Pelicans are quite awful, so there's definitely risk of the game getting out of hand. But Jokic, in theory, would have a lot to do with that. So that's just the risk of the salary. I think Watson currently is a better play than Johnson, just a bit cheaper. He's got better positional eligibility. He's been starting in place of Christian Brown. Both look good though if Gordon's out. Like that's just a lot that's suddenly available, more usage without him. So if Johnson is the chalkier one, then Watson looks like the good play, and vice versa. That's probably it. Probably not a Jamal Murray slate. Like I'd rather just play Maxey if I'm paying for a point.
Protect my eyes. The game log of Cam Johnson is just a sea of red. But he got it going in his last game. Pels are an amazing matchup, and he played 37 minutes in that game, or 36. And you got to think Denver wants to get him going. So they got him going in the last game. If no Aaron Gordon, why wouldn't they try to get him going a little bit more here? I personally lead Cam Johnson a little bit, but I think it's kind of like there's the same play for DFS purposes. Plus, that extra $400 might come in handy, so I don't hate it. The Peyton Watson play at all. On the other side are the Pels. Zion could be there, but he'd be limited if he is. It's really not a bad matchup, but just we're going to get maybe 30 minutes if he plays. If he's out, Trey Murphy gets a massive boost, but I never really like that anymore. You can do it if that's the case, especially if you are paying for Jokic. Wouldn't be the worst thing to get a Pels run back because the odds are pretty decent they would both get there then. Derek Queen, though, looks pretty good, per usual, at 5'2", and then Jeremiah Fears at 5'1". I think he would be okay as well. And then keep an eye on Sadiq Bey because he is also questionable. That would make Herbert Jones look a little bit better. And then I suppose we could go dumpster diving further with Pels if he and Zion are both out.
Yeah, it's mostly Fears for me right now. 5'1", decent mid-range play, getting a lot of usage with Zion out, and Poole out. If Zion's in, I have a little less interest just because obviously more usage flows to Zion, but he's an okay value. I expect that will probably go away once we get more value. I always want to like Queen. I don't know why I'm getting booed. Okay.
Just because you said the value would go away. I'm just testing these out. It's just all experimental.
I need a lot of work on that. I think Queen is fine. I'm worried about Jokic with him, but he's been starting. I think him playing with Zion would not hurt his minutes at all. I think Zion's kind of the point guard for this team, to be honest. So Queen's fine. He's still cheap. He's a little mini Jokic himself, so I kind of like him a little. Herb Jones, whatever. If Bey is out, I'll feel better about that. But otherwise, I think we can pretty safely get away from them.
Yeah, Queen does lose his luster because he's playing a pretty loaded position, especially in the way of value. Like we're looking at the Hornets guys, Isaiah Jackson, Drummond, and so on, plus Jokic at 13K here. So kind of tough to prioritize him. And he used to be power forward eligible, and that's when we liked him the most. So, all right, last game of the night, one that I'm like completely off of is the Kings at visiting Thunder. This is a big 18.5 point spread. You know, Russ has a big role, but he's very expensive. You have DeMar, Levine. These guys just look absolutely cooked and disinterested. Pretty unlikely that they go on the road against the best defensive team basically in the league and, you know, even keep it close. But I guess you could take a shot on it in tourneys. It's just not something I really want to do. I think Malik Monk at 5-1 off the bench is something, but I don't really like anything here.
The one thing I think is okay at the very best is Eubanks, just because Sabonis is out and he should start, but it's likely a blowout. He's Drew Eubanks. We do have other centers, especially if Golden State opens up. So fine play. I think he's better on FanDuel, where he's like 3-6 or something. But both sides of this game look pretty fadeable, I think.
I mean, it's Drew Eubanks for starters, and then he's got a really bad matchup against OKC, so I'm not feeling that. I think he's 4-2 and no Sabonis, so there's that. OKC, SGA, hey, YOLO, if you want to play unowned SGA to close out the night, among one of these 8 p.m. games, you certainly can. He does have a ceiling. Has not really exhibited much this year. He has one like crazy 75-point game, and then like the rest of the games he's at like 50, maybe 55. So like, I don't know, man. Kind of waiting for that big game. You never know. It could come tonight. So just in the name of ownership and GPP leverage, you can play him if you're not going to play Jokic maybe. Chet and Hartenstein are okay, just not amazing. Yeah, I guess you could punt with the value here to get different, like Isaiah Joe or something, but I don't really want to do it.
The value just all eats into each other, and we're going to have teams in much more shorthanded situations. So I don't really see the point in playing OKC value, at least. I think the one guy who kind of stands out is Chet. just kind of seeing 30 to 33 minutes a game. He's 7,600. It's a really good matchup for him. So I think Chet at 1% ownership is a pretty good play. But again, I don't know if he has the ultimate sit there unless the Kings keep it close, which based on the spread, they will not. They're 18.5-point underdogs. So tough. No issue fading SGA. I think Maxey is just a substantially better play.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like you're getting the same production for $600 cheaper. I agree with that for sure. It'd just be a GPP thing if you want to take a shot on 70+ point upside for a guy who would be like, what, 5 to 7% almost likely. So there's that. The Chet thing, it's like he does have a ceiling, but they don't seem to like to extend him very much unless the game is like super close. So it doesn't even have to be a blowout for him to not really, crack 30+ minutes necessarily. So wouldn't be shocked there. All right, so that is going to do it for us. Hopefully this does help you out. Appreciate everybody joining us for the live stream. And if you're not on the live, if you didn't watch us live, that's okay. Hopefully most of this information doesn't grow too old with the news coming in. We kind of did touch the bases for some of the questionable guys. Like obviously, if Jimmy and those guys are in, then we're not in on the Warriors guys, and vice versa. So hopefully you can put it all together and get a winning lineup tonight. If you want a little bit extra help, you can hit up our Discord for free, or you can go check out our core plays at dfsbill.com. Just $5.99 a month to get access to those every single day, plus everything else that we do throughout the entire month. All right, thanks for watching and good luck.